Hi everyone, it's Crystal from Crystal Creates Chronicles, and I have another scrapbook layout for you today. And this one is going to be a layout from last year when my husband and I had a little date night at a Sur la Table doing a pasta making class. So I pulled out these cards and I chose greens and blues and yellows to kind of match the colors that were in the photos. And then knew I wanted to use some stamping in this layout, so I had pulled out some stamps that I thought would work. And I was really wanting to use these Kelly Perky ones that had the numbers on them. And I was trying to figure out how I could incorporate them possibly for the title card there and using it into the title. So at this point, I was kind of debating on what I wanted to title this layout, how I wanted to use those stamps, like I said, and which way to go. So I was really going with wanting to use the date since those are kind of more date stamps. So that's why I pulled off the ninth there. And the little thing says the, and then I'm going to later on pull off the letter, the word May. But I was trying to see if I had maybe some stamps that would work also that could stamp out May, or also maybe doing a different type of title with some letters here, either saying date night or something along the lines of what this date night was about. So you're going to see me flipping through some of my letters here, also kind of going back through my stamps to see if any of these would work. For in the title, I have that one at the top that says in the kitchen that I wanted to use since obviously we're doing a cooking class. And so I'm just deciding on what I want to use for the title. And I also use at this time ChatGPT to kind of help me brainstorm some title ideas as well based on these photos and the events that took place. So as I'm going through and looking through my stamps here, I'll just kind of give you a quick background of I knew I had some ideas for this layout. I wanted to do some stitching and I wanted to do some stamping and some embellishment layers here. So finally decided on a title, and it's going to say date night and in the kitchen. So I have these glittery kind of letter stickers here that I'm going to spell out date night with. And I'm gonna have to, and I realize as I'm putting them out, I'm gonna have to get a little creative. Not too creative, I guess, just with with the letters here because I don't have another uppercase letter of something. Um, so I'm just kind of arranging here how I want this whole title card to go. So I'm kind of laying out the stamps that I wanted to use, as well as here in a moment, you're going to see I'm going to use the plastic packaging to help me put night on here so I can line it up the way I wanted to. And it's going to get a little fussy and things start sticking and I kind of get annoyed. But anyways, as you can see, I'm having to peel off the stamps. Just trying to figure out where I wanted to actually put the word night. Did I want it next to the word date? Do I want it underneath? Yeah, it's just trying to figure out placement here. So going back, like I said, when I was planning this layout, I had started planning this one a while back with knowing what photos I wanted to use, looking at my Google Photos. And then also, when I was doing that, if you've seen one of my shorts, I talk about how I decide which type of photos I'm going to print. So when I saw the photos, I knew that they're all going to be in portrait mode. So the best one would also be my Instax. So that also helped me decide what photo pocket page that I was going to be using. And I believe this one is Becky Higgins Design F that I'm using for this layout. So here I'm just trying to peel them off. I normally don't ever do this. I just normally just lay them down and hope for the best. But this time I kind of did want to have us decide on the placement before putting them down. So I'm fussing with these letters because they were a bit um, temperamental on coming off on this plastic. So, and I did work on this layout through a couple days just because of time. And I know, like I've just posted recently another video, and I've been away for a bit. Hopefully, I'm gonna have some more up this summer since I am a teacher and I'm off for the summer. Woohoo! Anyways, so I'm going on now, just kind of cleaning up and figuring it out here, and I'm gonna pull out the stamps to stamp in the kitchen here, and that's gonna go underneath the date night, kind of in that little diagonal, white diagonal line there. And then next I am going to use the number 9, stamp the 9, and stamp May right next to it. And going to stamp that on there. And I just realized too, as I'm recording this, or doing the voiceover recording on this, that I never put the year. But it's in my 2024 album, so I may not go back and put the date, I mean, the year, because I mean, yeah, it's in the album for 2024. Okay, so going on, I have these other stamps that I recently got from Studio Calico that kind of did a um, flow map, and it's called Routines by One Little Bird for Studio Calico. And I wanted to use them to kind of lay out the food that we made that night at Sur la Table. So you see me drafting it out here on a index card just to kind of get the idea of my flow of my handwriting, and I'm just kind of picking what pen I want to use, point that I want. And so I'm gonna mess around with this and try to figure out my handwriting. In the end, it's okay. Right? We all can't stand our handwriting. Um, Anyways, so I'm stamping it in the blue ink just to kind of match that card. I'm sorry, my head's in the way. And just kind of doing a little flow map here, like I said, of the foods that we made that evening, and just kind of being a little creative with my um, fonts there inside those little shapes. You see also I'm using that blue pen to kind of extend the lines because they didn't quite always meet. And you'll see here in a moment when I do the long rectangle down at the bottom, I was kind of extending the lines between the square and the rectangle to just make them all attach. Again, inking it in the blue, kind of adjusting it, and then I'm going to stamp that one at the bottom. And you'll see here, like I said, I'm going to attach the blue line just to kind of give it that flow map flow and fill it in again with what we made. If you've never taken any of those cooking classes at Sur la Table, if you have one around you, they're a lot of fun to do. And you get to try the food, eat the food, and some of the meals you get to take home with you, depending on what you make. My husband and I do these quite a bit for fun as our date nights, and we even have friends and stuff. We just did one recently of cooking croissants. So I'm just kind of looking through those cards, those stamps again to see if there's anything else I can add. And I believe I'm going to be moving on to that bottom left card there with it's kind of hard to see in here probably, but it's kind of a cream with some yellow lines. And just trying to also figure out stamps for where else I want to put them on this layout. I knew I wanted to kind of do another flow map of just some phrases that I could possibly use to describe this night. So I'm just kind of playing it out here with the different squares or shapes that they have. I was thinking about maybe doing the ones with another way of similar like I did on that blue card, but I wasn't liking the feel of it. So you're going to see me mess around and try to arrange them to be different ways. I did like that circular one there on the picture of me testing the food or eating the food. And then I liked the idea of having it vertical um, next to the photos there. So I found one phrase that worked, that fit in one of the rectangles, and then I decide, why don't I just do 3 rectangles vertical like that? So I pulled out some more stamps that could possibly work in phrases that I had, and just kind of seeing which ones would work and which ones I wanted to use. Just kind of talking, just like little phrases about that are related to couples, date nights, saying amazing, wonderful, love, whatever, those kind of phrases. So here I'm going to use Stamp It Down, and this time I used the black ink. And I'm going to stamp this phrase. Oh my gosh, I don't remember what it says. I think it's talking about something being favorite night of mine or something like that. And then I'm going to use another one that says love next. I'm going to stamp that one down. And I also got a little, because it wasn't quite long enough to fit inside that rectangular. So I'm just going to add some little exclamation points there at the end. And you'll see I'll use that little bitty wooden block stamp that I have. Um, so there I go, stamping that. And then I'm going to do one more. And this one I am using, um, this is my, oh God, what was it say? This something, this makes me smile. That's what it was. And it was a stamp that I've had forever from, I think they're Ali Edwards stamps. I'm just also looking through to see if there's any other ones that could work. But anyways, the stamp that says this is makes me smile is from an Ali Edwards stamp collection that I've had for years. You can see if you look there when I pull it up again, it's gonna be a little faded yellow. Anyways, because of that stamp, I cut it apart a couple years ago, probably years ago when I was using it for another layout. And it actually worked out that I had done that because I was going to try to manipulate it anyways if I hadn't, to make it all fit in there the way it was laid out as a stamp. But because I had cut it apart, I could kind of manipulate it to fit inside that rectangle the way I wanted to. So you're going to see me here messing around with it, trying to make sure it fits where I wanted to, and then pressing it onto the block, and then going to stamp it inside that rectangle. So now I'm going to move on to the circular stamp here, and there was a stamp that I had from another Kelly Perky stamp collection that said the official taste tester or something like that, and along those lines. And it was a circular stamp, so I thought it would go perfect for that circular flow map stamp. So I'm going to stamp it inside that circular stamp, and however, you'll see when I pull it up, it didn't come out as clear, so I'm going to redo it just down below and do the flow map stamp around it as well now. And then I'll fussy cut it out, and it's going to be added as an embellishment later on. And this will be pretty much the stamping that I do on this layout. And then I'm going to be pulling out my embellishments here in a moment. However, I forgot to hit record. And so you're not going to see me laying them all down, but I do have most of them down so that you can get an idea, and just kind of doing some finishing touches of it once I realized I wasn't recording. I will say though, when I was going to do the embellishments, I was kind of at a stump first. This I did take, I believe, a day between, just trying to figure out what's embellishments I wanted to use. So I took a while to pull them out. Here they are. I pulled out all my embellishments, stuff that I wanted to possibly use. So here they were. And so now here is the layout with the embellishments kind of laid out. And so just quickly, I'll kind of go through each one of them. Right now, I'm just going to write the word delicious onto this um, call out speech bubble. And that one's going to actually be over the plate of the pasta on that dark green card with the polka dots. But we'll just kind of start at the top, going over around each of them, since to kind of give you an idea of how I decided which ones I was going to pull. So there in that first top green card, it says this in the details, and that one is a card from I just recently got from Studio Calico, or not, maybe not Studio Calico. I was just buying some embellishments online and stuff. Anyways, I pulled it out because it liked the colors that it had when I was going through that little die cut, and now and I thought, oh, it'd be great for that one picture of us when we're rolling out the pasta dough. All right, and the next card, this one, it's kind of already placed down, so you're not going to be seeing me glue it down, like which I'm going to be doing right now through this at this point. But the next one there is those frames, and those I did recently buy from Studio Calico. And I can't remember if I've posted the video yet, but I was trying to use them in a prior one But anyways, so I knew I wanted to fill these cards up, some of these cards up that were just didn't have any words or pictures in them, just to kind of fill them up with some layers and embellishments. So when I was looking through my embellishments, I was trying to find things that I could fill up these cards with. I knew I wanted, I saw I knew I had those big hearts, and then it had the U in it. And then I knew I wanted to use those frames too, to maybe use some layering. So in that one, I decided to go with the frames. That little bitty frame says captured. So, and then I decided, I knew I needed to find another little heart to go inside that smaller little frame there. So it kind of says captured you if you read it that way. So I kind of like how that one came out with a different layering there. And then I talked about the delicious one. Now going on to that second one there with the big tag. So I don't mind that that tag is going to be sticking out of the pocket once I put it in later. But I saw it in there. The colors matched. I thought it'd be great. I didn't know at the time if I was going to be doing some journaling, but when I was laying out the different embellishments and I saw that big, and I was going through my stuff, I saw that big chipboard with asterisk. I thought maybe I can use that somewhere. And so then when I was laying them out, it just kind of was there when I picked up my papers, and I liked how it looked. We did the one where I just glued down a moment ago, the official taste tester, which you saw me stamping before. And then going back to that card with the three little vertical rectangles, I just found some little hearts that were in some of those packs. I think that's called Paper Stories that came in. It was a little pack of die cuts, and the hearts just matched. And then there's a banner down there, and I went kind of looking through a bunch of my banners to find ones that would work. And I found this one that was green. I Because I didn't record, you didn't see, but I was kind of fiddling around with it to maybe some other layering of some other labels, tags to go behind that one that said, I can't see right now, loving this, a little green banner down there at the card at the bottom next to the XOXO. But I ended up deciding to stick with the one banner. Then the XOXO, as I was looking through my embellishments, I know I have a lot of these larger chipboard letters, and XO and the isn't used a lot, the X's, so I'm trying to use it up. So I was like, okay, maybe just use a big XO, and it fitted perfectly in that oval framed one. And then on that last one there, it's the picture, it's just a little camera. Again, came with some die cuts I recently purchased. So there's a quick rundown of the embellishments and why I chose them. If you have any questions, just post them down in the comments. I did also want to, like I said, add some stitching to this layout. So on a few of them, sorry, I need to work on my angles here. Um, so I just did go around, add a few stitching to the cards, some in the corner, some over the little embellishments and whatnot throughout this layout. So after I complete the stitching, this will be pretty much done of this layout. So I thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and subscribe, and I hope to see you again next time.